Well, it's International Nelson Mandela Day, and of course a number of activities are lined up to celebrate officially the former late great statesman Nelson Mandela, and these include the unveiling of two statues in the Eastern Cape today, one in Qunu at the Nelson Mandela Museum in Mthatha as well. So Leanne Manus is there to bring us those proceedings as we build up to the official unveiling. So let's take you back to Mthatha now. And Leanne, you had earlier promised us a look inside the museum, and I see that's exactly where you are.
Indeed I am, Sakina. We've moved inside the museum. So the next two crossings, we're going to give you a little bit of a walkabout to show you what happens inside the Nelson Mandela Museum this here in Mthatha. And it is very fascinating to walk around and see the life and times. And at the moment where we are, we're sort of in a hall where you can actually see, this is not a display that is always here. This is a traveling display, and apparently from an artist that did these particular sculptures. They're made out of plastic, and they're absolutely brilliant, I have to say, of the life of Madiba. We'll try and show you as many as we can. But also, more importantly, with me, I have our guest, who, of course, is pretty much his guests, because this is what he is the CEO of, Dr. Vuyani Booi, who is the Nelson Mandela Museum CEO. Thank you for having us here. It's been a wonderful morning so far, just to walk around and see the collection that you have here, which is unbelievable.
Yes. No, thank you for that, and thank you for appreciating our collection. Yes, you are correct that what you see here, the sculptures which were designed, developed by another artist all the way from KwaZulu-Natal. So in a sense, these are not really belonging to the museum. We are not creating that impression, but what we are saying, this is a traveling exhibition trying to support the local artists and also trying to expose, and you can see that this is all about, they call it the life milestones of Nelson Mandela. You look at this one, this one is more about a Xhosa rite of passage, or Tembu rite of passage, which is sort of depicting his culture, his traditions. All the young men within the Xhosa, call it community, when they reach the age of 18 years, they go to initiation school. So Nelson Mandela went through that, yes.
And right here in this province, so that's what makes it so much more relevant to the area and the province.
It is very much relevant, and that's one reason as to why Nelson Mandela is even loved by the local chiefs, the traditional chiefs, the local people. Why? Because when they look at him, they see a person who is very much grounded, who was very much grounded in his own culture. Yeah. Yes.
And it's important to keep the culture, it really is. I mean, we'll keep on walking and show some of the viewers as much as we can while we chat as well. There's a lot of worry, though, Dr. Booi, and I can't ignore the fact that the moment I put out a photograph of this new statue that's going to be unveiled outside, automatically people are worried about why. Why are we putting another statue of Madiba up? Why do we really believe that that is how Madiba would want to be remembered, when there are so many problems plaguing not only the country, but the exact location that the statue is now being unveiled a bit later this morning?
You know what? I think people of South Africa and the world, they should understand that we have a right to celebrate the achievements, the commitments, the sacrifice of Nelson Mandela. And we need to have, symbols that are showing exactly that. And the statue is nothing else but a symbolic representation of that. You must remember that we are having young children who were born in 2000. They've never seen Nelson Mandela. They only hear about Nelson Mandela. So when you are having a statue, you are trying to relate the idea of Nelson Mandela, not to them. But over that, this is about memorialization and commemoration of our own history, in particular, our own liberation history, and also to portray the contribution that was made by our own leaders, not only Nelson Mandela and many others. And now the question, in fact, people are saying, I've heard people saying, or some journalists saying, people are not eating statues. They are correct. Statues are not meant to be eaten. Statues are meant to be appreciated. You know, this is what is important when I'm referring to that. When we put up all these statues, the purpose is to attract, you know, international tourists to these local spaces. When we put up these statues, the purpose is to ensure that we are having, you know, domestic, you know, tourists going to Qunu and spend money there. You know, so it's more like a catalyst. The statue should be looked at as a catalyst of local economic development.
Which I can understand. I mean, I see where you're coming from. But how much has the statues, how much did they cost? And can you tell us who the actual sculptor was?
Well, these statues, they cost us plus minus 3.3 million.
Both of the statues?
Both of the statues.
Transporting, the design,
exactly,
the whole cost.
Exactly. That's what people out there should understand.
Okay.
That the money that was spent here, it was meant for the design, it was meant for the development of the statues, it was meant for the transporting of the statues, it was meant for the development of the prints and the inscriptions, you know. So there's a lot that is involved in the making of the statues.
So tell me about, I mean, in terms of the artist, who is the artist?
Well, the artist that we appointed, it was, is it Keketso? But it was led by Mr. Dali Tambo, his own company.
Okay, and that's what people keep asking is Dali Tambo. Again, the name comes up, and that's it's a worry because it always seems to be the same people. We talk about empowering different artists, and yet the same names keep on coming up. And that, I mean, obviously these are questions that South Africans are going to be asking and saying, but why? Why would we go back to Dali Tambo when there are so many other artists that perhaps could have done even better with that money?
You're correct, but remember that it's got nothing to do with the Dali Tambo relationship with the Mandelas.
You know, he gets the money at the end of the day.
Well, he gets the money, but what is important here is that when he gets the money, what it is that he did, you know, he employed, you know, different people to do the work, and not only that, because he did the work and he also handed over to another foundry which is based in Mpumalanga. So people of Mpumalanga, local people of Mpumalanga, they got the jobs. So it's not about him, but it is also about the spin-offs that actually came out of the money that we have given to that particular company, which actually benefited, you know, unemployed youth. We have a proof with us as the museum that when these were designed, developed, you know, when these were transported here, you know, there were people who were unemployed involved in the process. So we have that statistics, and that is very much important to us, because when we do these things, we are trying by all means to open up work opportunities. It really doesn't matter, even if it's a 5 days, it's gonna make a difference. It really doesn't matter if it's a 1 month work employment. It's gonna make a significant difference in that particular family.
I suppose it does, it certainly does, but when you look around the town, and that's the worry, is that people look around the town, you look at the potholes in the town, you look at the amount of jobless, unemployed, young, drug-ridden, and that's one thing I have noticed in Mthatha, which is worrying. Young girl prostitutes walking the streets trying to make money to put food in their mouth. We belittle the cost at 3.3 million, but do you know how much that would change their lives? And one has to ask this question as I look at this magnificent piece of art that are put together. Is this really what Madiba would have wanted? And these are serious questions, and I imagine they'll be answered through the day, because these are the hard questions that are going to be asked. I'm just kickstarting them in the morning. Do you believe this is what he would have wanted?
I truly believe that Nelson Mandela would want us to, you know, would want to see us doing exactly what we have done. Because I want to emphasize the fact that when we put up these statues, in particular in Qunu, you must go to Qunu, because the statue in Qunu is not just a standalone, you know. There you are having accommodation facilities, you are having conference facilities, you are having exhibition facilities, you know, you are having, you know, call it tennis combos for the youth, you are having B&Bs around, you know, so you are also having a statue that is not even far away from the grave of Nelson Mandela and from his homestead. So what is that supposed to mean? It simply means that you are having a statue that is adding up, it is actually adding value, to the lives, to the economic lives of those people. So that is why I am emphasizing that Nelson Mandela would love to see statues that are attracting or that are contributing to local economic development. Some of the statues, they are just put there, as a standalone. They are not even supported by these tourism facilities. But here, in the center of a rural village, in the center of Mthatha, you are having a statue that will attract not only the local people, but also the internationals. They would, for instance, maybe I must tell you about this. When was it? Last Sunday, we had 2 buses full of American people. And we said, why are you here? They said, no, we come here to see the statues and would love to sleep over here. Okay. And what is that supposed to mean? It simply means that, in fact, it's a good indication of the fact that when these statues are there, unveiled, they're going to attract, a huge traffic of domestic and international tourists.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you for talking to us. Good luck. I know that's where the main event is taking place. We didn't get to see too many of these statues, but I know through the broadcast we'll show them as we go on. But Dr. Booi, of course, is the CEO of this Nelson Mandela Museum, and of course outside we will be seeing the statue being unveiled at around about 10 o'clock this morning, and then the main event taking place in Qunu, and SABC News will cover all of those lives.